I lived in Jerusalem for 6 years, and then went the first 2 years to we call it the Freire, I think it's the Friars, and moved from there to Amman, Jordan, where I went to, from the second grade, I went through high school into we call it the Patriarch College. It's like Madrasa Latin in Ramallah, but it is the Catholic school in Amman, Jordan. And I graduated in 1964. And in 1964, between July and August, my family moved from Amman to Ramallah. And I had applied for college in the United States and got an acceptance from San Francisco State University. So in September of 1964, I moved to the United States to go to college by myself. And I moved to San Francisco. I had 3 uncles that were living there, so I was living with one of them while I was going to school. And I was going to school and working part-time during the day, during the week, and full-time on the weekend to support myself and make a few dollars and send it back to my family in Ramallah to help with the living costs in Ramallah. And in 1966, they were on the quota to move to the United States, my family, and my father, my mother, and I have 3 brothers. They all moved in 1966 to San Francisco. I continued my studying at the university. I got my bachelor degree in electrical engineering. And all the time while we're doing that was supporting my family, and we had a grocery store that we were working, and my brothers are 2 years younger and 6 years and 10 years younger than I am. So I was the eldest, and usually the eldest takes the most responsibility, and we're glad to do it, support the family. And graduated in 1971, and I had background in business. For the engineering portion, at that time it was very, very hard to find a good job in San Francisco area. I was offered jobs to go with Bechtel to Saudi Arabia, and at that time it wasn't convenient for me because my family still needed me to be around and help. I got married in 1972. My wife, her name is Ghada, and her maiden name is Ghada Musa Ghannam. We got married in 1972, and we spent our honeymoon both in Canada. Then we flew to Los Angeles by San Diego and Disney World. We went to Catalina Island for a week, and came back with my wife, and we had our own life together. I have a son and a daughter. My son is Joseph, and my daughter is Betty. And in 1974, between the supermarkets, and we stumbled on an ice cream company in San Francisco, and we bought that company in 1974, which was really a very, very small company, but it's had a historical San Francisco tradition, and the company's name is called It's It, and it's a catchy name, and it's really a tradition in San Francisco ever since 1928. And we've been in that business from 1974 till now, which is now it's 2012, and it's becoming quite a bit of a company. We cover the western part of the United States, and so it's a great company, and we're lucky to move to this country, and there are a lot of opportunities for us that were not afforded in Palestine. I'm not sure what would have happened had I stayed in Palestine. I always wonder about that one. You see some of your classmates that are still in Amman and Ramallah. Not many of them. Most of them have immigrated either to Canada, some to Australia, and some to the United States. So you always wonder when you go there, and we traveled quite a bit back there, and you wonder, would I have been one of those guys? I mean, some of them are very successful. Some of them are in the authority. They're working. Some of them have degrees in either in law, as doctors. So it's always something that kind of makes you wonder. And under the condition of the occupation, because when I moved here in '64, there was before the war, and even my family before the war. A lot of times we wonder if the doors were just open to have immigration. Sometimes you always have the conspiracy theory. The theory is that my family was on the quota to come to the States for like 15, 20 years, I think. In 1966, they just opened the doors, and a lot of people were allowed to immigrate. So we don't know if that was a part of a set of things. The conspiracy theory in the Middle East is quite rampant, and you don't know, but it is kind of the place you were born. It's your homeland, so it's always have a special place in your heart. I mean, when you say you're a Palestinian, it's always, especially in the United States, it's just like something that will open its subject is that maybe from ignorance, not knowing that you could be a Palestinian Christian, because a lot of times during my business and all that, when we're out to lunch, my business partners and people that they say, "Can you drink?" I said, "Of course I can drink. I mean, what is this all about?" And they automatically assume that an Arab is automatically a Muslim, and the joke is a lot about is that I think many people have used it. I've used it many times. I said, I just have a little question for you. Where was Jesus Christ born? And had Jesus Christ been born now, he'd be a Palestinian, and he was born in Bethlehem, he was in Nazareth, he was in Jerusalem, and this is a place that we were brought up. So Palestine is it's a unique country. It really has a lot of emotions, and having the Palestinian issue is really put you in a lot of unique positions when you're dealing with people. Some people that really feel with you, some people are completely ignorant about the situation, and I seem to find out through my travels that there's a complete misconception in the United States versus Europe. Europe, they have a lot more understanding of the situation. So it is quite interesting, and I have a son and a daughter, and they were raised as Arabs. What we like about this country is it affords you the opportunities, but they had the choice in this country is to really be proud of your heritage, be proud of where you came from, and at the same time value all the good things that we have, our tradition, our family ties, our customs and habits, and at the same time you are able to acclimate yourself to the United States in developing businesses, in developing relationship, and so it's been a blessing to have those two cultures, and I believe you are a much richer person when you have this one. If you were just born just pure Palestinian, pure American, being an American Palestinian, that's how I call myself, because I'm really proud of being in this country. It really opened up a lot of doors for us. I had my kids go to the best colleges and universities, and it was all being afforded by the opportunities. You know, you work hard here, and you work by the fair game, and you know, you have the opportunities. I mean, so we've been very blessed. You know, I have my son. He got like his BA from St. Mary's College, which is one of the top colleges in the San Francisco area. My daughter is quite a bit more achieved. She went to Harvard, got her degree from there, and she went to Yale, and she's a playwright. And amazingly, she loves to write about Palestine. She loves to write. You know, that's something that, not knowing, you know, when they were growing up, just the stories they hear, she was always absorbing those stories, and it means a lot to her. She went to Beer Zayt in the summer to learn Arabic, and she wrote some plays while she was there, and you know, it's something to be proud of that she's the first Palestinian playwright in the United States. She had her play off Broadway. It's called what's the name of that? She had the name, then she changed it, but I gotta remember the name now with my age. But she loves to write about Palestine. She loves to write about women and about basically the human rights of it. You know, she doesn't like injustice. She doesn't like of human abuses, and so you know, it's been a great journey. The good thing about us in San Francisco, we have a large community of our own family, our own hometown, Ramallah. There's from Palestine quite a bit of number. I mean, the number of Palestinians in San Francisco and Bay Area is quite a number, and it's been growing ever since I came to this country. I mean, every year we get more and more people, and as of late, I believe that this country, if they truly know the facts about the story of Palestine, they probably would be much more helpful. The American people, I think they are, if they know the truth, they are very fair people. They really are misguided in a lot of things because, you know, we know who is supporting the media in here, and we know how much coverage you get when a Palestinian suffering versus an Israeli suffering, and you know, you feel it. I mean, a human being is a human being to me, and a Palestinian human being is just as equal, if not better than any other human being. So you know, when they are treated like they are numbers and all that, it really hurts. And but we have been getting involved more in the political system in the San Francisco and Bay Area, starting with the supervisors and the mayor of San Francisco. As a matter of fact, we have supported as an Arab community where we had raised funds, and we had both mayors come to the Ramallah Club of San Francisco, and we want to be in the political system. We are really part of the fabric of the United States, and if you want to have your voice heard, I think you should play the game of get involved in politics. We encourage people to register to vote. We encourage them to go out and meet their neighbors, go to their communities, and because you know, we do love cultures, we do love people, and our parents, when they came in here, they were a little bit more hesitant because they were mostly worried about just making a living, pay the bills. A lot of them had to even borrow money for their ticket to come here. I mean, the amount of money that people came to this country is very minuscule. So they didn't want to do anything that would stir up the waters. Just they wanted, basically, let's make some money, buy a house, and send our kids to colleges, and they did quite well. They worked hard. Most people that have come here had put easy 7 days a week, 10 to 12 to 14 hours a day. I mean, and a lot of them did not know the language. We were a little bit luckier, you know. When I finished the school in Amman, Jordan, I could understand English quite well. I had a hard time learning the American accent initially, but when communicating and writing and all that, it was like a second language to me. So it wasn't bad. So this is we have our federation. It's been over 55 years now, and it's something that kept our tradition all over the country. And we have many clubs. Some are larger than others, and you see more of a shift, though, that the older generations convention versus the new one that I see. There are more youngsters. I wish we have a little bit more of traditional, that in every convention I like to see people with performing like folk dance, the debke, and because we've done that in San Francisco during the last few conventions, and it really binds the kids together. It really makes them appreciate a lot more of their traditions, of their culture, of their music. And the last convention we had was, I think, 2009, and we always have debke groups, and amazingly, you get 40, 50 youngsters, boys and girls, usually more girls than boys. The boys seem to be a bit more shy, but it's important to keep this tradition. I think it's quite a unique story of the Ramallah story to have a family of that actually can go back 450 years or so, and from one descendant. And the story it's amazing. I mean, I like the idea of having that book of the family tree, because a lot of people are relating to it, and they keep continuing, because at certain point it ends, and they have new generation, new people get married, new kids, and all that. So this is great, I think.
I'm going to ask you a little bit about, and that was great. I'm going to ask you a little bit about some specifics of maybe while you were growing up, what you experienced and things like that. But you said you were born in Jerusalem. Tell us a little bit about, you were there until you were 7.
Right.
Do you remember anything about Jerusalem?
Yeah, I remember very well. We were living in the Christian quarters, and that's probably like 500-600 feet from the Holy Sepulchre Church. And it's my family, my mom's family, were living in Ramallah. So we used to go quite a bit to Ramallah. But Jerusalem was a place that you had a lot of tourists. It was more of a really people, pilgrims, holy lands. And so when we were kids, we used to see a lot of people. They would come from Greece, from Cyprus, and of course European and Americans. So it was like a much busier city than Ramallah. In 1954, 55, Ramallah was very small. I mean, Ramallah now it's a huge city with a lot of buildings. But when I remember, Ramallah was really small. But I do remember going to school, just the road I used to take, and over in Jerusalem, in the homes, probably are like 10 or 12 different homes with one yard that it's shared by all. So it was, the memory of my childhood is a lot in Jerusalem going. I mean, you could just walk to the Holy Sepulchre and you'd smell all the different candles, and you see all the Christians, the crosses, because there were a lot of those little stores that were working on tourists. So to me, it was like a very safe city. There were no cars in the city, so you didn't worry about being hit with a car. There were no stones. There were a lot of stones in Ramallah, so if somebody, because Jerusalem is it's all like there's stones on the ground, but you don't take a stone to hit somebody with it. So it was really a safe city. You didn't really have a fear as a kid of being hit by a car. You know, if you had a bicycle, you were lucky at that age. I can't remember in Amman. I have more memories, but I came here in '64, and in 1981, 17 years later, my wife and I went back to Palestine. That's the first time. Ever since there, we've been going quite more often. But it's amazing. In 17 years, 1981, we went to Bab al-Amud, which is the Damascus Gate, and it was like a radar. And I mean, I was 6, 7 years when we left, and I went to find the house, and they all look the same over there. I mean, it's like a big courtyard and houses, and there's big doors. And boy, I just went through the way with my wife. She said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I think I'm sure." And just go in, and there's no street names. You just walk by. Boy, it's like a radar. I said, there was like a big round stones in front of the gate of the house. I said, that's the one. Is where I opened the door. Sure enough, and the funniest experience over there is when I went there. We had a teacher and her brother that were living. She was a teacher for 50 years in the Mutran. And she used to actually help me and my younger brother at schoolwork, because my parents were illiterate. They probably finished 5 or 4th grade, if that. So she was teaching me writing and all that. And the Frere, because they're run by the French. They were very. I felt they were very strict. They wanted you to speak French at you're 6 or 7 years old, and you better speak French during the lunch break or during the break time. And I recall, which now thinking about it, I don't like it. I recall that if you spoke Arabic, they give you like a marker. And the one who ends up with the marker at the end of when the bell rings, when the lunch time is over, he gets a whipping. And I really, thinking about it as I get older, I didn't like it for more than one reason. First, they want you to speak completely French. I mean, which is learning the French was good, but they teach you to come to a friend of yours and speak, basically entrap that friend and speak Arabic to that friend. So if I know you and I say, كيف حالك, and if he says مبسوط, I said, oh, you spoke Arabic, here's a marker. And then it's his turn to do that. So I thought that's one way of not really making good friends, because, it's either you're going to get the whipping or you try to, and if they're smart or if you're smart, they said, when they tell you كيف حالك or شو بدك تاكل شو العصرونة, and you speak in French if you're smart and all that. So that was, to me, that was an experience. But by the same token, they used to really, they were very good in teaching, because I went to kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. And I studied in the summer, and when I went to Amman, Jordan, I skipped the 3rd grade. I went to the 4th, and I was the first in my class in the 4th. And my handwriting, we had to use the dipping ink, and you had to go with the light coming down with the heart. I mean, they taught me till today. Whatever they taught me, it worked well, and. And I became the first in my class in the 4th, and it was easy for me and all that. Then I skipped the 5th class to the 6th. So I didn't go to the 3rd or the 5th grade. So at the 6th, I could feel their shortcoming. I was good in math and English and science, but I was terrible in Arabic. I was terrible in geography, because I missed 2 years of that in history. But eventually I made it up. But yeah, that was quite an experience. And when I went there, it was a shock to see that teacher and her brother. And her brother, actually, he had something wrong with his knees. He only had crutches. And over the 17-year period that actually more than 17, when I left 17 from Amman, it was probably more like 22 years, 23 years, from 56 to 81. He had gone to Hadassah, and they helped him with his knees. And so he's walking a lot better. And to me, as a child, I remember him. He was always having a hard time. An old man. He had both knees were bad. So I don't know exactly what they did, but they did fix his knees. So I said, Hanna, his name. I said, Amma Hanna, want to go visit the Holy Sepulchre, the Iyamah, ta'al ma'ana. And he said, I said, you could walk now. Before, it was almost impossible to walk down the stairs with those crutches. And so even after they fixed his knees and all that, he said, I swore I will never go to the Holy Sepulchre as long as the Yehud are here. So I thought these people, help you, and but he felt so hurt that the occupation, because to them, this is my land, this is my homeland. How can you come and just occupy and all that? So, but it was amazing. And that lady, the teacher, Shamieh Sit Elaine, she never got married. Her and her brother never got married. So she was taking care of her brother. And the funny thing, she wasn't there. She was in Ramallah, actually, visiting some of her students. And then I told her brother, Hannah, we're going to leave. And he said, okay. So we walked, my wife and I. And my wife doesn't know her, but we had a picture of her. So we walked by, and there was an old lady walking on a cane, coming in. And I just walked away. We walked a few steps, and my wife, she nudges me, and she goes, I think that's her. She's never met the woman. She doesn't. I said, really? Let me go back. So I went back. She's walking slow. So I said, marhaba. She looks at me. And this lady taught in Filmatran over 50, 60 years. So imagine the number of students she has come across as a teacher for 60 years or so. So I said, marhaba. She goes like me and said, marhaba. I said, عرفتيني? She looks like this. She said, Shamieh. And it was, boy, that blew my mind. I didn't recognize the lady. I was just walking, I'm not noticing. And I said, oh my God. It was, and my wife till today, she said, أنا عرفتها وأنت عرفتها. Yeah, I knew her. But it was amazing, because she was a neighbor, and she was, at that time, in 56, that's why we moved to Amman, actually, because I had myself and my younger brother went. The other two brothers were born, and the quarters in Jerusalem, the Christian quarters, were very small. It was like I told my kids, I took my kids after, I said, I want to show you my mansion where I was born. And it was one room, probably smaller than this room. And there was a rope. And on the rope, they put a blanket. So they separated the kitchen from the bedroom. And that was it. Then you have the bed. So we moved to Amman for 2 years, actually, before my father and mother eventually moved to Amman with my other two brothers. So because the house became too small, and we moved to Amman to live with my uncle and aunts who were there. And another really great story, a few years after, when I took my kids, and they were like 15, 16, so 73, about 88, 89. I said, I got to show you where I live. Now I'm an expert on going. The first time I thought I'll never find it, but now I know it. So we went there. The room we were in, both of this Sit Elaine and Hannah had passed. So they were right next to our room. So I went to the room and said, boy, that seems to have gotten bigger. And they said, no, no, what we did, we opened and we took the other room. So I'm telling the kids, you know, this is where I was born here. This is where I lived. This is the courtyard I used to play, which to me looked like a football stadium, but you know, just like a little one. And there's a little kid sitting down there, and he's watching TV. You know, it's like a cramped room, and he's sitting and watching TV. And his mother came. I said, I used to live in this house. You know, do you mind if I show my kids إحنا من America and all that? She said, no, تفضلوا, you know. And she was another Christian family because that property was owned by the Catholic Church. So if you're Catholic, you live there. So my wife, she would say, Charlie, look at this room. I look at the room, and the little kid will turn. You know, he's say, Charlie, do this. Charlie, do this. And boy, and they said, I'm Charlie. And imagine, Charlie is not a very common name in Palestine. And like 25 years after, a family comes in and they have a son that is a Charlie. Because every time Ghada would say Charlie, he would look as if she's calling him. So it was really amazing. So that was, you know, quite an experience. The kids, you know, they really had a great time. One more thing, when we first, I forgot to tell you the first part too. When we first moved in '81 there, we stayed, at my time, I know it was a hotel right by Jabal al-Tur. It was called Intercontinental. So, you know, when I reserved, that's the one that from memory. So I reserved the Intercontinental to go there. So when I went and met Sit Elaine and her brother, she got upset. She said, you know, your brother came here and he stayed at King David Hotel and you come, you know, why don't you stay with us? I said, you know, I mean, thank you very much, but it's hard, you know. She said, I have a modern shower. At that time, we didn't have a modern shower. We had, like, the bathroom was an outhouse in a special place with a hole in the floor. Sure enough, she had like a shower, hot water, and all that. I said, you know, but we can't sleep. She said, the room you're in, that's the first time before the kids and somebody was there. The room we were in, there were 6 cots. And they actually used that one for the pilgrims from Cyprus because they couldn't afford the hotels. So she said, you know, we don't have room in our here, but this is your room. I said, you know what? If I can sleep here, I will cancel. So we stayed one night in Intercontinental, and so it was the strangest thing to come after 25 years. And there was nothing, just like a cot and blanket. So that was my wife and I. And the first thing I get up in the morning, I hear al-adhan, 4:35. I could hear it in the mosque. So I said, boy, that really brings memories. I mean, just great memories. Yeah.
What do you remember anything about your grandparents? Did they live with you, or were your grandparents in Ramallah, or?
My grandmother on my father's side, I don't know her. She died, you know, when she died giving birth to my uncle. So I don't know her. My grandfather on my father's side, yeah, I know him very well. He actually was living with us.
What was his name?
His name is Khalil. And
what's his full Khalil?
Khalil Shamieh. Khalil Salem Shamieh.
Salem.
Yeah, and yeah, he was living with us. And when I moved in '64 to come to the States, he wanted to stay in Ramallah. And he never wanted to come to the United States. You know, but when my parents and my 3 brothers, you know, they told him we're leaving, so he decided he doesn't want to stay. All his kids were here. He has 4 sons and 2 daughters, and they were all here, except for my father. So my father and my mother were the last to come, and he didn't want to come here. I mean, he was a guy that just liked a little bit of Arab, and he liked the simple life between Amman and Ramallah. He really wanted. He was almost forced to come here. And you know what? He came here in '66 and he passed away in '67 at the age of 67. Yeah. So we don't know exactly whether it was attention, because he came to the supermarket we had and he got cut with a nail, and we thought it was a rusty nail. So we took him to the emergency room, and when they tested him, they found leukemia. And so he didn't. My father, my grandfather, and on my mother's side, and my grandmother, I know both of them. His wife died at a young age, my grandmother, and he lived to be over 100. I mean, the saying is, every time it said, "How old are your grandfather?" He's 90 years old. He never changed that. It took us 10 years, but he.
What was his name?
He was. His name is Isa, and I don't know the middle name, Isa Dourman, and he lived over 100. He was a farmer, and where the teen is, he made that teen according to the story. He was in his young 18 and 20 years old, and he made the teen what it is. I mean, all those, I don't know what you call it, sanasil. He had like a mountain, and they would flatten out, and they grew olives, figs, and grapes in there. And they had enough olives that they actually, him and two other people, had one of the olive presses in Ramallah. It's right across from the Orthodox Church down there in Masara. So I recall when I was young going there in the summer, because we lived in Jerusalem, but we used to go a lot to Ramallah, especially during the summer vacation. We used to go down with them to the teen. Actually, that was going out to the farmland, and they had what they call a kasser, which is a castle, but it's actually a bunch of stones put together. But that was great memories. I mean, they had put swings for us on the olive trees, and we used to go to the Wad down on that. So although we lived in Jerusalem, so Ramallah was for us, it's like a treat. My dad would stay maybe working, and when he takes a day or two, he would come. So we stayed quite a bit by my grandfather. He has quite a peculiar story. I think he might be one of the ones. You're from the Harbs. Is the Al-Khuriya, is she related to you in any way? Khuriya al-Harb, the one that's married to the priest. Yeah?
Cousins to dad's cousins. Not close, but yeah.
Yeah, she's. My grandfather, he married a lady that her husband had died. I think Mandar Jabir, and she had 3 kids. And he stayed with her. Apparently, she was a beautiful young woman, and he stayed with her for many years, 5, 7, 8 years, didn't have any kids. So she told him, I'm not the problem, you're the problem. I already had 3 kids. And eventually, she allowed them to just marry my grandmother, what became my grandmother. But the Orthodox priest won't allow it, because, you couldn't marry well and all that. And, he wanted to have kids. I mean, he's a farmer, and he wanted to. So when he married the other one, the priest, the old priest, the story goes, the old priest, he told him, if your father dies, I'm not going to do the ceremony. Not the guy who's going to get married, his father, which is my grandfather's father. And he told him, and they're being very religious and all that, if you're not going to have the final rites and all that, that was very scary for them. So my grandfather was a little bit of a hothead, and he went at night to the priest and with a gun, and he told him, "You're not gonna do the ceremony for my dad?" He said, "No, I'll do it." So he allowed him, and so he got married, and his sister is a Khuriya. She married Harb, and his son tells me that half of Dar Harb is her, her offspring. So that's why I was asking about. But yeah, he got married to the other one, but his first wife was still living across the street, and she was he would on like Christmas when the new crop or anything, he would treat her like still his wife and all that. But after he married my grandmother, he had 6 kids. He had 3 boys and 3 girls, and from there we would probably count over 100 grandkids now and all that. But it's amazing. That's the thing that keeps you wondering, what if, if would we be around here had he not done that? That's. But yeah, he lived.
This is on your mother's side you're talking about.
Yes, yeah, yeah. He's was quite a character. I mean, he lived over 100 years old, and he's easygoing guy. And like I said, every time I said, "How old are you, Grandpa?" He'd say 9 years, and 5 years later, I was 90 years old. But he had a good life, and he attributes a good life to the olive trees and the olive oil, because when they used to press the oil, the first press supposedly, it's like the cold press and all that, he would get like a big loaf of bread, and he dunks it in there and eats it. So maybe the Mediterranean olive oil is something that people are going, really good diet. So I eat a lot of olive oil, hoping that to duplicate on my grandfather. Although I don't know with the fast pace of the United States, and not only the United States, I guess all over the world and all that, we're probably always at more fast pace, more stress, and even with iPhones and telephones and cell phones and all that, and you're always just wandering away. But we hope to duplicate that.
Let me ask you, when you moved to Ramallah, you remember the house you moved in?
Yes.
And can you describe it a little bit?
Are we on?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, when we moved to Ramallah, we rented a house. It's by the other hizbah. There's 2 hizbahs. So we rented a house. One thing amazing for my family, on my father's side, for some reason they never owned any property in Ramallah. It's that's something we're missing. Because a lot of people will tell you, this is my house, this is my dad's house, and all that. My grandfather and my father and all that, they have a shoe factory actually in Jerusalem, Hart al-Nasara, right by the Christian quarters, which is very close to there. And they had it from the 1935, 36. And they were, they had an actual factory of, and a lot of people from Ramallah, I see them and said, I work for your dad and all that, because it was in Jerusalem, and they used to do almost like manufacturing wholesale. And it was a thriving business. That's why they never purchased. My grandfather was so happy when my dad got married that they said he had like celebration for 6 nights, Sahara, what Sahara, and all that, and he finished all the livers, all the spleen, all the talat, all that, from the. And people told him, instead of that, you could have bought a piece of land, in that. But living in Jerusalem and having a business in Jerusalem, but they got hurt in 1948, because what had happened is that they used to buy from Hebron. They used the raw material, like the leather and all that there. So they would buy it, and they would manufacture, and they would sell it all throughout Palestine. They'd send it to Jaffa and Haifa and all that, and it was like mass manufacturing. So when they would buy the product, they would sign like a note and all that, and they would sell the product. The people would sign a note, because it wasn't like on a consignment type of deal. So when the war broke, they lost all the business, and all their monies that were in Palestine, prior Palestine, which became occupied by Israel, they lost all that money. But the people that they were in Hebron, they still owed that money. I remember they took him like 10 to 12 years, my uncles, to work double time and work One of them was a lab technician, and he was working as a teacher and as a tutor just to make money. And they were just paying because the people you owe the money, they're still, they're still there. The ones that owed you the money, there was no way to collect. So they got quite a bit hurt by the war. I mean, they lost everything that they had, and not only that, they were in debt for probably a few years to pay off what they call kumbiyalat. I don't know. It's basically notes payable. You buy the stuff, but that's part of the reason it was for them. Then we moved to Amman, and they never did buy anything. So, so right now we're contemplating buying a piece of land somewhere in Ramallah, but the prices are a little bit on the high side, which is, some of the prices that we hear people are paying is because it is Ramallah is the metropolitan right now. It's everything is the government, the new, and all that. So it's but that's something that you really, even I go to Ramallah, I like the the new technology they have. I like their educational music centers and all that. It's really, really something else. I mean, but to me, Ramallah is still the old town. I mean, when I go from the church, the old church, the Shara Sahel to, I mean, this is to me, in my mind, this is Ramallah. This is when I tell about Ramallah, when we take the kids and tell them that's where we used to walk and that's where we used to go down and all that. But now it's huge. I mean, they're going what they call vertical because there's no more horizontal land. I mean, I was there 2 years ago. The last 4 or 5 years, because I was involved quite a bit with the federation. I was the president 2 years ago. So almost every year I used to go there, and for the improvement, the development, it's quite amazing. I mean, for people under occupation. Another thing that is unique is the safety factor in Ramallah. I mean, for a country under occupation with really not a strong police force, not a strong court system, you really don't find many crimes. I mean, it's amazing when the younger generation, they go there. I'm talking younger generation, anywhere from like 14 to 20. And they don't know what to expect, especially when they go the first time. But, once they go there and they stay till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock a.m., 3 a.m., I mean, they're either smoking nargila or they're going to like a nightclub with music, and it's safe. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, San Francisco is a pretty safe city. I think it's a bit safer than Detroit. But I wouldn't dare go at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2. I just walk downtown. I mean, it's you just don't think of doing it. And but it's I have my brother and his daughter, and they're coming back Sunday, actually, tomorrow. And he said my daughter wants to extend her stay. They went to Amman, they went to Turkey, but they love Ramallah. So it just it's amazing. Like, I can see people that were born there and have been raised there. I can see the feeling, but it's more amazing to see the younger generation. They have that kind of feeling. So I think when you hear the stories from their parents, or they hear, their life, and all that, it kind of keeps them wondering till they see it. And what they see modern Ramallah. They see, there's more languages spoken in Ramallah than anywhere else. I mean, you go there, behind you, the Swiss are speaking, the Italian, the French, the Japanese. It's amazing. I mean, it's so that's the story.
That's a good one. Can you tell me can you give me just, while we're waiting, can you give me any recollections you have of, you talked about your grandfather and I asked you about that, but of your parents and your brothers, can you name them for me? There were 3 boys, 3 girls?
No, in my family, we're four boys, including me. So I have three brothers.
What are their names?
Shauki, he is 2.5 years younger than I am. Nabil, he's about 7 years younger, and Jamal is the youngest. He's 10 years younger.
Tell me a little bit about your parents, maybe day-to-day stuff or what you remember most.
My parents, the most I remember about them is that they were really easygoing. I don't remember ever being, disciplined by them. I think we were good boys. That's what they tell us. But they're really easygoing. They're not educated in the sense of going to school, but I think they're educated by the experiences of life. My father, it was unique. My father, when he was young, he got sick at maybe the age of 3 or 4, and he lost his hearing. So we talked to him in sign language, and that's, for him, it's actually eye contact. When we used to talk to him, I mean, he didn't really have to say anything. We didn't have to say anything. We could understand. And amazing how we can communicate with him. I mean, it's not the international sign language. It's what we call the homemade sign language. And he was really a hardworking man. At the same time, he didn't have any of like talking behind people and all that. He just, what you saw is what you got. And that my mother was very outspoken. She wasn't shy. She has like her sister. I mean, she would come to your house and said, I'm hungry. What do you have? Her sister might be starving, and she said, no. And I said, why? Stay. I mean, don't. I mean, she's, my daughter says, my wife says, your daughter is like your mom. I mean, she has, she's not vulgar. She's not, but at the same time, she's honest about it. I mean, if she wants anything, and back home, we have this habit when a mother takes her son, he said, don't ask for anything. Don't, I mean, and, they basically left it up to us to decide things. I see a lot of parents, even till today, their kids are grandparents, the kids, and they're almost, in a way, controlling them. In a way, the kid is not smoking in front of his father, or the daughter-in-law is definitely not smoking her father. I think in our household it was a lot freer. I mean, it was you didn't feel the pressure. I see some of my cousins, till today, I see that their fathers are still controlling what they're doing. And I said, when is that going to stop? But I don't know, because my father had the handicap. It's just because it was basically left up to us to talk to him. There was a little cute story that I love to talk about him when he went to get his citizenship. He's been in the States for I think if you were over 55 and you're 30 years in the States, you could take the citizenship without really learning and all that. So I went and I told the inspector, I said, my dad cannot speak the language, so I have to translate for him. You ask me a question, I'll ask him an answer. She said, well, you're not going to be answering, you're answering. I said, well, whatever it is, we'll try it. Otherwise, you as an immigration, you are responsible to bring somebody that can speak the language, or whatever language, because in San Francisco, we have all the Spanish and Chinese automatically. I mean, you go there because you have to take the test, but you can take it in your own language. So we kind of work with that, like who's the first president will get a dollar bill, and he'll show her. So I'll ask him who's the first president. I can ask him who it is, and he'll get a dollar bill. He said, "This is it. Who's the one who freed all the blacks?" You get a $5 deal, show Lincoln, and all that type of deal. So she started asking. I said, ask him, I mean, certain things. I said, you're not going to ask about the Constitution. And she said, yeah. So she asked those questions. I said, who is the first president? The first president, the first like this is the first president. So he picked the dollar. He said, this one. So she understood all that. And she said, tell me what he thinks about the police. So I said, what do you think about the police like this? He said, like this. So I said, he's saying that he thinks about the police that, they're there to protect you. They go by law and all this one. And she said, wait a second. By doing that, you said, yeah. They said, that's not him talking. It's you talking. So I got upset. I said, now wait a second here. This guy here, he's been paying taxes for the last 34 years. He paid a lot of taxes. When he first came here, some people said, because he has a handicap, he can go and fold coupons and welfare. And I said, over our dead body. I mean, my dad would rather die than do that. I said, the only reason he wants to have a citizenship is because he really appreciates this country. And we do a lot of travel. We take him with us. And we would like him, you're not doing him a favor. I mean, in the United States, somebody had a handicap and all that. We actually make things easy. And I really got upset with her and he said, don't get upset on me. And by this, I said, yeah, this means a lot. Because if a guy comes out of an operation and you go to doctor and said, like this, it means it went well. If somebody does a good basketball, so, she still didn't buy it. And then I got a lawyer, and in spite of her, we did get him a citizenship. Because it was for us, whenever we went to Europe or many countries, you'd find like American citizen this line, all other countries this line. And, we couldn't, and he traveled quite a bit with us. And so that was something I always tell him. When my dad said that, it meant a lot of things. But, I made that really, I thought, feel really ashamed and insulted a little bit because I said, you're not doing the man a favor. You really have to work with it. And I know when he says that, if he says like this, it has a lot of meanings for us. But that. And my mom was, like I said, she was like speaking on his behalf a lot. She was very outspoken, and she died at a young age. Unfortunately, she had diabetes. She had her mother's genes, not her father. Her mother died at 60, 61, I think. They both had diabetes. And, that really, at 62, my dad was, I think, like 2 or 3 years older than her. And, he kind of lost his interest in life in that. But, he found another lady but it was never the same. And he passed away at the age of 84. But he had a good life. But he never, never ever worked. Did not work one day in his life. I mean, he was even when he came to the supermarket, people, when they would come to, we had like 2 cashiers and all that, and a lot of people said, I want this guy to wait on me, and so it was a good, honest man, and he didn't. His handicap did not put him behind. I took him one time to Stanford. My daughter, when she comes over, she likes to go to universities. So we live like 15 minutes away from Stanford. So I said, you want to go with us? See it. And they have beautiful chapel in the school. And so I go, I said, this is like a good school, one of the good schools, and the good school, and my dad is like, this guy got good brains and all that. So I said, this is like the school that in the East, like, because when my daughter graduated from Harvard, we took him there. Was really a happy man there. So he said, well, he's like 81 years. I'm going to go here to Stanford. So I said, no, you can't go there. He said, I got big brains. I'm smart enough to go here, but he's so he lived almost 20 years after my mom, and traveled a lot. Took him from Hawaii to China to Europe and all that. And, he's and he adapts a lot. Whenever you tell him we want to go eat something, he said, "I want sushi." And some of the old Arab should talk to raw fish, But yeah, we work together as a family, and this is very unusual. Apparently, not only in the United States. Like the three brothers and myself, we own the company with two other cousins, and we've been working together for 34 years. And our family structure is really a close family. And a lot of people are really shocked and surprised. How can you work together? Sometimes two brothers are fighting against each other and all that. But I don't know whether we attribute that to the closeness to my dad, because we're always around him and all that. But it's we've been from 74. We've been like 37 years. I'm about to retire, but we're still working together, hoping the next generation. We're not sure about the next generation. Usually they like to prove their own. They like to do their own stuff. I don't want to do what my dad did. And said so. So most of them are on their own, and we encourage that. And if they decide to come into the business, it's there for them if they want to. But if they want to prove themselves and work their own, we're happy.
Yeah, those are all great stories. Good stories.
Yeah, they're true stories.
Now, anything? Let me ask you about this. When you were in, say, Ramallah, and since you were in Jerusalem, but what was the time you would travel between, say, Israel and Palestine, or through? Give us an idea. Was it hard? Was it okay in that time? Did you all pass through borders okay? Or did you at all pass through any borders?
Yeah, we did. Anytime you go to Ramallah, the first thing, if you fly into Tel Aviv,
I'm talking in the 60s, early, when you were still there in Ramallah. Did you ever go back into Jerusalem, or did you go into the Israeli part?
No, you couldn't. Prior to 67, there was the barbed wire right in Jerusalem. So no, I didn't see anything about Tel Aviv and Haifa and Yafa and Akka and all that till after we traveled from here. So the travel for me was mainly Jerusalem. Then when we moved to Amman, we used to come quite often, mostly in the summer. It became, in Jerusalem, we probably used to go once every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, all the time. And the Catholic school, they have, I don't know if you know what that is, it's a bread talami. Do you know what that bread is? They're famous for their bread. It's like the sourdough bread of San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to always, and in Ramallah, they made their own bread. They made the wardi and they made the kmaj and all that. But it's always green on the other side. They always loved the bread from Jerusalem. So we used to go all the time and take like a few loaves, whatever, because we can get them from the Catholic Church. And they'll give us, instead of that, they give us figs and olives and olive oil and all that. But we traveled quite a bit. So for us, most of the cousins were there, especially on my mother's side. And so we were like basically treated like almost people who come from a different city. I mean, Ramallah compared to Jerusalem was very, very, very small. And so we travel in the summer more often. We'd say probably like 2 or 3 months by the teen. But when we moved to Amman, we couldn't travel. I mean, it's like hour and a half, and it's expensive to keep traveling. So we didn't travel during school time. We traveled mostly in the summer vacations. But with regard to Israel and whatever they occupied, Haifa, Yafa, and all that, and Tel Aviv, and Lid, all that, you could not go in. So I've never been there till I came to the state, and we traveled back.
Okay. In Ramallah, once you got to Ramallah, what school did you attend there?
I didn't attend any schools in
in
Ramallah.
Ramallah? You already graduated in Jordan,
In
right?
Jordan. In Jordan.
And did you work then in Ramallah when you went to, after you graduated school? Did you work, and you moved to Ramallah, right?
Yeah, and within a month or two, I came to the States.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
right after
In
that.
'64, yeah.
Okay.
I was waiting for the application. That's another interesting story that probably might have happened with other people. When I got my acceptance from university here, I went to the consulate in Amman. We're still in Amman. And I went there, and I have the acceptance, and I have the passport. So I go and I see the ambassador, and he looks like this. Apparently he had somebody who was an American citizen but from Palestinian descent that basically told him off. I don't know what. So he was already upset. I come in there, and when you're there, your idea of coming to America is like the ultimate, and you're kind of apprehensive and kind of almost scared. You don't know what. So I went in there, and his face was all red. I forgot the ambassador, and he's already upset about the guy. I don't know. The guy was yawning when he was talking. He said, "You're boring" or something. I don't know what he told him, but so he comes. He looks at my application, and he goes, calls Mary, I think her name, outside and all that. I said, "Oh, born in Jerusalem, from Ramallah." He goes, you guys, you just get either a visitor visa or you get a college visa, and you go get married and never come back. And your family's name is on the quota to immigrate. So, I said, no, I have acceptance. I'm going to go to college. My family is here. No, denied. He won't give me a visa on that to come to the States. And it's another funny story. My aunt was a nurse who was working in Libya and in Benghazi. And there was an Oklahoma guy named Al McDowell. He was working for the oil company from Texas for a company called Laughlin Brothers. So they got married in Libya, in there. So I went to Libya just to visit because I still have the application. This guy denied me. So I went to Libya there, and her husband, he used to take like a small plane about 30, 40 minutes and fly on the rigs where they look for oil. And so he came back, and he looks like, I couldn't understand the word. I thought I spoke English. I couldn't understand. He's an Oklahoma, and his accent, oh my God. I mean, it took 20 years in here before I could understand him. He's really, really, hi y'all. And, I said, what the hell is he saying? I don't know what that is. But so we went to the American embassy in Libya. So I went, my aunt, which is my father's sister, and her husband, and we went there. So I'm standing here, my aunt and this guy, then start talking, find out that they're both from Oklahoma, or the ambassador and this one. And like somebody's talking about Ramallah, remember this story, remember this happening and all that? And they start talking to each other and all that. About fishing, about oil, or, and they told me this is my nephew. And I'm talking, and then my aunt, she said, you don't want to tell this lady shukran? I said, for what? She had, while they're talking, she took my passport, stamped the visa, and I wasn't aware of, because in Libya at that time, they're looking for somebody to go to this. I mean, if they get one every 3-4 months, I mean, it's just like an embassy because of the oil. So I said, oh my God, why did I even bother with that guy and all this one? Because he said, I'll sponsor him, and he was making pretty good money as somebody who's working for the Laughlin company. So that was, was a piece of cake. And I stayed there for like 20 days in Libya. And because he's American, he used to go to the country club and all that. And at that time, you see, Libya was really, I don't know, probably with Gaddafi, haven't seen it, but it doesn't look any better. But you went to the to the market and all that. And it was much, much, I mean, more primitive than Ramallah and Amman. I mean, it's the type of, the produce and the meats and all that. I mean, it was a lot, to me, it looked like cleaner for Amman. So, but when I went to the country club, they've got all their little canoes here and sailing boats and the Americans, all that. I said, boy, what a difference in, how they are treated and all that. So it was an eye-opening to see, the concept of the Americans, because as somebody from I think most countries, even I find that in Europe, they have different vision of the American, and when you come here, you see that they're the same, they got the good, the bad, and the ugly, and but that's how I got my visa. Came here. I mean, I didn't even know. They probably just handed a passport, just stamped the damn thing. That's it. But yeah, that was because it was very depressing for me in Amman. I got good grades, I got the acceptance, and this guy's telling me, no, because your family is going to go there, you're going to get married, and but apparently they've had that a lot in Ramallah. A lot of people came on visitors visa, and they did that. But again, like I said earlier, in 1966, and shortly after 67, they just opened the floodgates, let everybody go. And after the war, a lot of people came to this country. And I don't know till the last time we went, I was president of the federation, so we went by the Archbishop of the Greek Archbishop. We went by the Archbishop of the Catholic, and we went by Lutheran Bishop. And we had a meeting. We had a good delegation. We had over 100 people. So we went and met with all of them. And the three of them are really, really complaining about the dwindling number of Christians in the Holy Land. That's becoming, I mean, as from the Archbishop, he said it's sad because the holy places are becoming more of a museum, not a place of worship, because you have less and less people that are local, so people come. So I really don't know if that was part of the whole plan or what was going on, but I know that after 67, you used to have to wait years to get a visa to come here. I mean, 20, 15, 30 years, something like that. But so that's something that I'm not sure of, but it was amazing to get that from Libya. It's
another what if moment, What
yeah,
if?
yeah. It's
What when you came to? You said you came directly to the San Francisco area.
yes.
When you came from overseas, you
Yes.
flew in.
Flew in San Francisco.
What did you think of when you first got here? What was your impressions of the States? You hadn't been here before. You're just getting here. Say that first week. What was your impression of the States?
You were in awe when you first come to the, when you go to the different locations, and initially you don't drive yet, you don't speak the language, so everything is much bigger, and I went straight to the university, so I was more basically dealing with students. In San Francisco, there's quite a bit of foreign students in there. Engineering, somehow there's more foreign students. I had Japanese, Chinese in my class, and maybe like 3 or 4 Americans. I mean, more foreigners. So you felt, but you came to the expectation. It's not what you see here. I mean, when you come and you see your uncles working like open at 8 and they come at 9 and 10 at night and all that. People have the vision that America, the money is easy and you can pick up money off the trees and all that. But in real life, you have to work hard in this country. I mean, it doesn't come easy. And but I was really happy to come here. I was happy to go to the university, and you know, so you have too many expectations that you have sometimes some kind of visions about what you're expecting to do, but find out that I have to work hard, and I did. I used to have classes, and as I was here on a foreign student visa. On a foreign student visa, I have to maintain 12 credits, otherwise, they'll tell you you're not a student anymore. It should be out. So I had to take a full load and do a full-time type of work. I mean, we had supermarkets. I had to do deliveries. On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, the full day. I mean, so it wasn't easy. It was tough because and I knew my family eventually was going to come. So you have to work and save some money for their tickets, and at the same time, you do want to work. When you come in first year, you're eager to work. The money is a lot better than, because I really did not work back home in a job. I was just a student, but work in Amman again. When we lost, when my father and his father lost everything, he started basically working for people. Then in Amman, they went and bought a shoe store right in the middle of Amman, and that was decent. But we're still, my uncles were here. They're still sending money on a monthly basis to supplement the income of Amman. So here, the opportunities were much more available. The money was a lot more. And when you first come in here, you really try to save. You couldn't afford to go to restaurants. And you can't. Vacations is a non-existing thing when you first come in. I mean, you don't. Now, if you don't go on vacation once or twice a year, you're missing something. But when you first come in, eating out in restaurants, you can't afford that. And, so you try to really minimize your expenses to save some money to get. And by working hard, I think you do that. And I see a lot of them. They make money because when you work 12, 14 hours, you really don't have time to. You want to go home and just relax and sleep and open up the second morning. And so it was like, I'm happy to be in university. I'm happy to be in the United States. And you start feeling that there's not a pressure, or because over there's pressure. You have to respect the soldier. You have to respect somebody who has a few dollars more than you, and it's a different system. Here, you could be a janitor, you could be a doctor, you could be an engineer. It's you're treated basically by human rights, or by the First Amendment, is that you could say. So you were freer. You felt. In Jordan, you hear somebody went to jail, and whether you open a station about South al-Arab, Cairo, or if you say a bad word about something, you're always afraid. I mean, you're afraid to say things. Here, when you first come in, you feel freer, but at the same time, you're not really that open to be able to speak exactly your mind about it. You can't keep things to yourself. I mean, you can't just blurt everything out. But so there's a different kind of pressure that was existing there that you don't feel it here. Then as you start getting more accustomed to the country and to the habits and all that, like when I play soccer, I tell them I play football, and that was another experience. So when I first took a varsity class, you have a minute for another joke on that one. It's so that class, I like sports. I used to take anything sport, whether swimming, diving, and so there's a varsity class that they start from gymnastics into playing football, which to me football is the different football and all that. So they say, you play football? I said, yeah. So they went there, so I went to the field, and they split us into two. And one was skinned, you took off and the first thing I looked at, football, that looks like a canal from back home. I mean, soccer is not, and I have no clue what football is. I have no clue what the game is. I have no clue of anything. So, all I see that somebody runs and runs with the football on that. So, so somebody throws me the ball, right? And I don't know what the game is. All of a sudden, they say, run, run. So, I start to run, and I see like a 300-pounder black guy with nothing, no skin, and I see him coming like this, so I see him coming like this, so I'm running backwards. Everybody's stupid or something. I don't know, somebody was cussing me. He said, running the other way and all that. And, I don't understand. They must have cussed me without me knowing what they said. I didn't know all the good languages at the first semester. So all I know that the teacher, PE teacher, he came and I don't know, he said something bad to the people. They must have cussed me good, which I don't know. Now I know football pretty well, but so they must have really cussed me very well and that. So, it didn't bother me because I know what the hell they were saying to me. But the guy, he said something that the guy, he felt bad. 3-4 weeks later, I said, you'll play soccer? I said, no. I didn't know what soccer is. He said, well, go down. All of a sudden, I see the ball. I said, that's football. He said, no, that's soccer. And, I used to play pretty good soccer. I was in one of the Golden Gate leagues. And, so here comes the soccer in there. And, they come running at me, and I just flip it backward. And I'm running and all that. And, I see them coming like football and that, and just go around all that. And they thought, I'm player. And the instructor came to the same guy. He said, see, that's their culture, and something like this. And so now the coach, he said, I want you to play on my team. And I said, okay, I'll play on the team. But he said, every day from 4 to 6, you got to come practice. And every day from 3 o'clock, I got to go to work. So I said, yeah, I tried a couple, 3 times, but then after that, we started the first Arabic team in San Francisco, and we were playing the Golden Gate League, which is a pretty good league. And first time we played with. That's when we had like an Arabic radio station, and we played with a German team. And we beat them 3-1. And we had 2 people. We were good, but we had two players from Iraq. Boy, they can accelerate. I mean, they can go from 0 to 60. I mean, those guys. They're the one that pulled the team. And the German team is, Germany, they play pretty good. But so that was a big thing. 3-1 the first game, and after that we started playing with the Spanish and the Mexican and all that. And they play pretty good too, but yeah, that was so that was kind of the initial thing. And working in a grocery store, it has the longer hours and all that, but it has its own blessing in a way. You learn the language very fast because you're talking to people all the time, coming asking all that, and at the same time. You find out, you start knowing more of the culture, more of the people. Because if I'm working on a computer in the office, and well, they were not computers at that time, but if you work in some kind of office and all that, you don't get the interaction. You don't learn the language as fast as day-to-day basis. And so that for us was good, and made good money. It put us on our feet, and for the first couple of years, because I could see the other foreign students that were with me, because we had some foreign students, we had a number from Saudi Arabia, where where I was making like $300 a month. That was great in 1960. Those guys were getting from Saudi Arabia, they were getting like $1,800 a month, and schools paid for that, expenses and all that. So I could see them. I could see how fast the improvement in language and communication compared to them, because they were not working, and they're within their group and all that. So it was, in a way, it was, I don't think it was by design, but being there and all that, it picked up the language quite fast and picked up, you know, stories about sports, about day-to-day life, and so it was quite interesting. And that's it, my life story.
It's pretty good. What if, what if, what if?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, a lot of times that when we sit and talk, what if, yeah, but
Yeah. That's great. I can't think of anything that you didn't cover. Anything else? I think we covered that.
mostly is, you know, the Palestinians in general, they do believe in education. That's something that we all strive for. I mean, it doesn't matter if you will become a janitor, but if you're a janitor with a BA or BS, you'll be a better janitor. I believe, whatever work doesn't, the issue of work is not the point. It's just being in a university setting, learning. I mean, it really opened doors for you. I mean, I'm working right now with an ice cream company, but I'm using a lot of the skills. I mean, you don't know that you're using it, but you are using them without, So school was very important. My wife, when she got married, she was barely 18, and she just finished high school. She started college and got married, but she made sure she followed back up. She got her BS in health science, and so the Palestinians in general, are highly educated. I mean, they're probably, I'm sure their numbers as percentage-wise, there's probably more PhDs that are probably by Palestinian more than any other country, percentage-wise, I say. And that's in most countries. I mean, you go to South America, you go to the United States, you go to Canada, Australia. It seems to be like the Palestinians, for all the things they have to go through, they value education, and I think that's something that's instilled in us. It's whether we believe that we have no other choice but to have education. It's going to college as a minimum, if not going higher, is something that we all strive and we instill in our children, our nephews and nieces, and our acquaintances. But and I believe that's a big factor that is keeping us, surviving, keeping us really in many countries. The Palestinians are really in the higher end of whether it's in education or in income and positions. So we hope that that tradition goes on from kids to kids, because we always heard that once you have your degree, you never lose it, and I think it's true. I think it's so we just I see most of the kids. I mean, you look at Ramallah, Ramallah people are usually envious and jealous of each other, and I think if you're envious and jealous of each other in education, in achievement, it's good. I mean, I think it pushes you more, and sometimes if it's used for the wrong thing, it might not be as good. But if we use it to improvise and to move ahead, I think that's a blessing.